Shalom, shalom, and blessings to all my brothers and sisters, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. Hope everybody's doing well. I hope y'all had a blessed day. I want to welcome you to this segment tonight where we're going to cap the night off the same way we opened up with the Most High's word and doing what we can to get an understanding. Real quick, I want to give our praises to the Most High for all of his goodness, for giving us the gift of life, the gift of his Son, who redeemed us first through his blood and through his word. in which we will be redeemed from our captivity. I want to thank him for his spirit of truth, which has brought us together and opened up our eyes in these times that we in. I want to say shalom and blessings to everybody in the chat. Sister Nisi Lewis and my wife, my partner. Peace and blessings to you. Sister Brother Darnell Blackshear. Peace and blessings to you. Optimal Training, my brother. Shalom and blessings to you. Hope you're doing well. Yvette Rivera. Shalom and blessings to you. Hope you're doing well. AD. Peace and blessings. Shalom to you. Jason Camphor. Shalom and blessings to you as well, sir. Thank you for joining in, seeking the Most High. Shalom and blessings. Sister Linda Ricks. Shalom to you. Sister Cindy Carr. Shalom and blessings to you. Ellen L. Israel. Shalom to you. Shalom and blessings to everybody in the chat. I want to thank y'all for joining in. Brother Rio Morgan. Hope you're doing well, bro. Hope y'all had a good day today. Hope didn't nobody get on y'all nerves today at work. You know, on the way home, you know how it is in traffic, or, you know, I don't know if some of y'all had to go through that, but, you know, in any case, I hope you had a good day. Hope your family's doing well and all that, you know. Real quick, let's open up with our passage. Just like we open up in the morning times with our passage in Psalms chapter 5. Let's open up. This is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 19, and this will be somewhat of a routine, you know, to get us familiar with pinpointing places we can go to in the scripture at certain points and at certain times, you know. And also, like I mentioned before, for those of you brothers and sisters who want to dedicate scriptures and passages that may inspire you to the family, feel free to do so. Sister Cindy Carr says she's working from home, but the doctor gave the last 2 weeks off to regroup. Amen. And that, you know, I hope that works out well for you, you know. And hopefully they pay you too in the process, you know. But I don't know how that go. That's just a hope of mine, you know. But this is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 19. Yehovah by wisdom hath founded the earth. By understanding hath he established the heavens. By his knowledge the depths are broken, and the clouds drop down the dew. My son, let not them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion. Hold on, okay. Sound wisdom and discretion. All right. So shall they be life unto thy soul and grace to thy neck. Then shalt thou walk in thy way safely, and thy foot shall not stumble. When thou liest down, thou shalt not be afraid. Yea, thou shalt lie down, and thy sleep shall be sweet. Be not afraid of sudden fear, neither of desolation of the wicked when it cometh. For Jehovah shall be thy confidence, and shall keep thy foot from being taken. All right. So just like in Psalms 5, when it says in the morning, you know, I will lift my voice to thee and will look up, you know, this is what we're going to close with in the evenings. When thou liest down, thou shalt not be afraid. Yea, thou shalt lie down, and thy sleep shall be sweet. All right. And so these are things that inspire me. These are things I want to dedicate to the family, you know. And on that note, I'm going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to get into the second part of the history of our forefather Abraham. You brothers and sisters know how we deal with Genesis chapter 15 and dealing with the 400-year prophecy. So we're going to dive into that, get some backdrop, and then we're going to get into the history, the actual intricate details of what we read in Genesis chapter 15. Shalom and blessings, Sister Diane Gardner Young. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a blessed day today. So let's take a break. And when we get back, we're going to get into that history. I want to thank y'all for your time. Hope y'all doing well. And, please hit the like button and the share button. That'll be much appreciated. And if my voice puts you to sleep, that's cool too. All right. We'll be right back. Shalom, shalom. Welcome back. Got a couple more people in the chat. Dion Tolley, peace and blessings to you, sir. And I'm glad you like the music, the break music. Hope you had a blessed day as well. Thank you for joining in. Brother Smitty. What's going on, Smitty? Hope you're doing well, bro. I'm glad everybody could chime in tonight. We're gonna get into the history of of our forefather Abraham. And remember, we read a lot of extra biblical texts, quote unquote, and the whole point of that is to elevate our understanding and what we know as the scriptures. You know, the 60, I mean, not the 66 books, but um, you know, the from Genesis to Revelation, from Genesis to Malachi is considered the scriptures. You know, these are, when you read the New Testament, the apostles and everybody, they refer to those prophets. And so the purpose for bringing in extra biblicals is the same reason you would deal with any other historical text, is to elevate your understanding. Shalom and blessings, Abaya Ben Yah. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a blessed day. Thank you for joining in with us. We're just going to be reading some history tonight and fellowshipping. And but that's the purpose of getting into these readings. And this is something I want to share with the family, because these are things that, you know, help you train your understanding in the scripture, you know. And I don't want to sound, you know, as if we're some experts, anything like that, but the Bible does tell us that all of the oracles, all of the giving of the law, the service of the Most High, the promises was given to us. You know, what profit is it in being a Jew? You know, much in every way, because that unto us was given the oracles of the Most High. You know, to us was given the understanding of the prophecies and the willingness and the spirit of due diligence to study and to read books that other people not willing to read, whether they valid or not. You know, at least we put the time into it to know that, instead of just leaving money on the table. You know, we know the scriptures is money, and we know the New Testament scriptures, or the New Testament writings, whenever used properly, we know that that's money too, you know. But we know that through putting the time in to study and look at what lines up. You know, if it don't line up, then we can't roll with it. So let's get into the look. There we go. All right, let's get into this. It's Genesis. Shalom and blessings, D. Wimberly. Hope you're doing well. Genesis chapter 15, verse 1. Now, if you missed the first part we did dealing with Abraham's conversion from idolatry, feel free to go back and visit that. And you'll be brought up to speed with this part. But the first part ended with our forefather Abraham leaving his father and all of his father's idols being destroyed. You know, we know that Abraham come from a strong background of idolatry. And so we ended with that, with him leaving, and the Most High telling him to separate himself from his kin, and then all of his father's idols being destroyed. And so when we pick up here in Genesis 15, that's kind of the backdrop, you know. Like I said, go back and reference that first part and get the history to get a full understanding that leads into Genesis 15. But it says, after these things, the word of Yahweh came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Adonai, O Lord, Elohim, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of Yahweh came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in Yahweh, and he counted it to him for righteousness. Verse 7. And he said unto him, I am Yahweh that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Adonai Elohim, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, or shalom. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age, but in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorim is not yet full, or the Amorites. Verse 17. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. And in the same day, Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, unto the river Parat, or Euphrates, and the Kinnim, and the Kenizzim, and the Cadmonim, and the Kittim, or the Hittites, and the Perizim, and the Rephaims, and the Emorym, and the Kenanim, and the Gershim, and the Yebusim. All right, so this is Genesis chapter 15 in entirety. We're all familiar with this chapter. The brothers, including myself, we've all dealt with the information pertaining to this chapter. And like I said, feel free to go back and reference that information to understand what's going on in the chapter. But what we're about to get into now are the actual details dealing with this chapter. All right, there are, according to this account, more details, more information, more events that took place with our forefather Abraham. All right, and we're going to get deeper into seeing how the Most High really interacted with our forefather Abraham, his full experience with dealing with the Most High. All right, so let's get into it. Part one that we read was our forefather Abraham's conversion from idolatry, and part two is going to be the Abraham receives divine command to offer sacrifice after 40 days as a preparation for divine revelation. So in this particular account right here, he's gonna get the revelation that we read in Genesis 15. But let's just check this out and see what we can find out. All right. It's part 2. It says, then a voice came to me speaking twice, Abraham, Abraham. And I said, here am I. And he said, behold, it is I, fear not, for I am before the worlds, and a mighty God who hath created the light of the world. I am a shield over thee, and I am thy helper. Go, take me a young heifer of 3 years old, and a she goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a pigeon, and bring me a pure sacrifice. And in this sacrifice I will lay before thee the ages to come, and make known to thee what is reserved. And thou shalt see great things which thou hast not seen hitherto, because thou hast loved to search me out. And I have named thee my friend. But abstain from every form of food that proceedeth out of the fire, and from drinking of wine, and from anointing thyself with oil 40 days. And then set forth for me the sacrifice which I have commanded thee, in the place which I will show thee on a high mountain. And there I will show thee the ages which have been created and established, made and renewed by my word. And I will make known to thee, gotta skip down, and I will make known to thee what shall come to pass in them on those who have done evil and practice righteousness in the generations of men. All right. He said, I will make known to thee what shall come to pass in them on those who have done evil and practice righteousness in the generations of men. All right. So let me see here. He said, notice Kittim, Hittites, and Chittim, the Romans. Yeah, I know the children of Kittim is the Romans, and also the version of the Bible that I'm reading from is a Hebrew translated version. And I use that version because it has a lot of old references and extra books. And so if there's an issue with the language, please forgive me for that. And you can also, feel free, if I'm reading from the regular Bible, to read from whatever version is comfortable with you. This is not a channel where we limit ourselves, but Hittites and Chittim, the Romans. Yeah. But in this first chapter, what I wanted to mention was if you read the first part, you know that Abraham at that time wasn't introduced to the Most High. He was seeking the Most High. He was living at a time where all the sons of men had turned to idolatry and evil. And so the difference between him seeking God and how everybody else sought the Most High was that he was seeking the God of truth. Everybody else were fully set on their idols, but Abraham saw that these idols didn't have any power and that they were being reverenced in the ways that the true God deserved to be reverenced. And so this is why the Most High is telling him that he's going to do these things for him because thou hast loved to search me out, and I have named thee my friend. All right. And another thing, this puts another perspective on the fasting, 40 days and 40 nights. I read an article a while back where a guy tried to fast for 30 days and he ended up dying, you know. And so reading these accounts will help you understand and fasting better too, you know. When we grow up in church, we think of fasting as just completely 40 days of eating nothing and drinking nothing at all. But then that's not um, quote unquote scientifically um, accurate, you know, because of the way that the human body is made, what the body needs, you know, on a daily basis. You can survive for a while without food and water, but, you know, after a certain point, your body starts to, you know, go through things. And that's what happened. The man died. But then the Most High told Abraham, he said to abstain from all food that proceeded out of the fire, and from the drinking of wine, and from anointing thyself with oil 40 days. So Abraham fasted 40 days from all food that proceed from fire. So he didn't eat any meat or anything like that. He refrained from drinking wine or anything from the vine. So he probably just ate fruit, you know, bread and drunk water, you know, 40 days. And so that's a heck of a sacrifice. You know, that's, think about now, can people do that? You know, can people go a week without eating meat and drinking juice and soda and beer and pop or whatever it is you like to drink? Can you go a week with just drinking water and eating vegetables and eating fruit? This is what he did. All right. Just to put a realistic perspective on fasting and what the Most High requires, you know, and not to say that you can't do a fast where you can't completely eat or drink anything, but realistically, 40 days and 40 nights not eating or drinking anything. And then how long is a day to the Most High? You know, some people say 24 hours, some people say 12 hours. So it's a lot to consider and understand when we're dealing with that. Abraham, under the direction of the angel Joel, proceeds to Mount Horeb, a journey of 40 days to offer the sacrifice. All right. So we see that it's a lot more detail that goes into what we read in Genesis 15. He had an angel appointed over him. All right, but we're going to read that. It says, and it came to pass when I heard the voice of him who spake such words to me, and I looked hither and thither, and lo, there was no breath of a man, and my spirit was affrighted, and my soul fled from me, and I became like a stone, and fell down upon the earth, for I had no more strength to stand on the earth. And while I was still lying with my face upon the earth, I heard a voice of the Holy One speaking, Go, Joel, and by means of my ineffable name, raise me yonder man and strengthen him, so that he recover from his trembling. All right, so when we read Genesis 15, right here, after these things, the word of Yahweh came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abraham, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward, right? There were some more things that happened right here. It just goes right into Abraham said, O Lord Adonai, what wilt thou give me? But we see that this was an experience that brought Abraham to his knees, because when the Most High spoke to him, he said he looked around and he didn't see no man. He didn't see anybody. All right, but he heard this voice and he said his spirit was affrighted. All right, this is consistent with everybody else's experience in the scripture. who had an encounter. All right. And it said his soul fled from him and he became like a stone. All right. You ever been so scared you can't move? Your whole body get heavy? And that's what happened to him. And he heard all these things happening. He heard the Most High's voice speak to the angel. And it said, go and by means of my ineffable name. All right. We all, call on the name of the Most High, whether you call on Yahweh, Yahweh, who else? Uh, it's many different names, that people call on, but he said his name is ineffable. All right. Meaning there's really no name that can describe the Most High. The names that we call on are the names that he revealed to us. And these are the names that, we gravitate to. But he says, and strengthen him so that he recover from his trembling. So the angel came, whom he had sent to me in the likeness of a man, and grasped me by my right hand and set me upon my feet and said to me, stand up, Abraham, friend of God, who loveth thee. Let not the trembling of man seize thee, for lo, I have been sent to thee to strengthen thee and bless thee in the name of God, who loveth thee, the creator of the celestial and terrestrial. Be fearless and hasten to him. I am called Joel by him who moveth that which existed with me in the seventh expanse upon the firmament. So this is, the Most High has many different angels. So this is one of the higher up angels that dwells up in the seventh expanse, in the seventh heaven. All right, where the Father is. And it says, a power and virtue of the ineffable name that is dwelling in me. I am the one who had been given the restraint according to his commandment, the threatening attack of the living creatures of the cherubim against one another, and teach those who carry him the song of the seventh hour of the night of man. I am ordained to restrain the Leviathan, for unto me are subject the attack and menace of every single reptile. So you got angels appointed over different spirits. You can go and read the book of Enoch, where it goes into detail about the different spirits that's appointed over the different elements, from the constellations down to the functions of the earth. So he's one of them. He says, I am he who had been commissioned to loosen Hades, to destroy him who stareth at the dead. I am the one who was commissioned to set on fire thy father's house together with him, because he displayed reverence for dead idols. I have been sent to bless thee now in the land which the Eternal One, whom thou hast invoked. It says, I have been sent to bless thee now and the land, bless thee and the land which the Eternal One, whom thou hast invoked, hath prepared for thee. How did Abraham invoke? That's like when you hear that term, a lot of times when people are playing around with witchcraft and different things like that, playing around with different spirits. But it says that Abraham invoked the Most High. We know that the Most High is the spirit. He's the ultimate. He's the spirit of all spirits. So whatever our forefather did, it invoked him. It got his attention. It moved him off of his throne, and it caused him to come down and speak with him face to face. All right. And on top of that, he appointed a spirit over him. All right. And it says, and the land which the eternal one whom thou hast invoked hath prepared for thee, and for thy sake have I wended my way upon the earth. Stand up, Abraham, go without fear, be right glad and rejoice, and I am with thee, for eternal honor hath been prepared for thee by the eternal one. Go, fulfill the sacrifices commanded, for lo, I have been appointed to be with thee and with the generation prepared to spring from thee. And with me, Mikael or Michael, blessed thee forever. Be of good cheer and go. There are other passages that go into talking about the spirits that's appointed over Israel. All right. Michael being one of them. And this book says Joel, but another translation gives another name for the angel. All right. But in any case, this is letting us know that these spirits that the Most High gave our forefather are appointed over us as well. That's why he said, I have been appointed to be with thee and with the generations prepared to spring from thee. All right. And we know that uh, it talks about Michael, the archangel, standing for the protection of our people, right? And it says, and I rose up and saw him who had grasped me by my right hand and set me up upon my feet. And the appearance of his body was like sapphire, and the look of his countenance like chrysolite, and the hair of his head like snow, and the turban upon his head like the appearance of a rainbow, and the clothing of his garment like purple, and a golden scepter was in his right hand. And he said to me, Abraham. And I said, here am I, thy servant. And he said, let not my look affright thee, nor my speech, that thy soul be not perturbed. Come with me, and I will go with thee until the sacrifice visible, and after the sacrifice invisible, forever. Be of good cheer and come. All right. So he described his appearance. So this is an actual, for the lack of a better term, an encounter. All right. A divine encounter. You know, some people might call this a alien encounter or something like that. But this is a divine encounter, all right, that our forefather had in his day. He described this angel as, you know, something that is really indescribable, you know, so much so that he had to tell him not to be afraid. You know, this is why the Most High sent the angel to strengthen him, because, you know, just imagine he trembling, you know, seeing this. First, you hear a voice clear as day, but can't see anything, nobody. All right. Now, if you tell somebody that nowadays, what would they call you? They'll diagnose you with something, put you on a bunch of medication, right? Something is wrong with you. But this is happening to our forefather, and it's for a cause. It's because he invoked the God of all gods, the ultimate spirit of all spirits, through his righteousness, because he loved to seek him out. He loved to search him out. He said, and he went, and we went, the two of us together, 40 days and nights. And I ate no bread. All right. So he didn't eat no bread, and I drank no water, because my food was to see the angel who was with me, and his speech. That was my drink. All right. So another thing we have to consider with this particular fast as well. All right. He told him, to go 40 days without eating anything sacrificed in the fire or made by fire, and not to drink wine. But this was actually a feast that, I mean, not a feast, but a fast that the Most High instructed Abraham to go on. So everything that he needed to complete this fast, he had it with him, including to a spiritual guide, to be with him along the way. He said that his food, let's see it again. He said, and his speech, that was his drink. And his food was to actually look upon the countenance and to see the angel. All right. That was his food. And to hear the speech of the angel was a substitute for drink to him. It was like his drink. And we came to the mount of God, the glorious Horeb. And I said to the angel, singer of the eternal one, lo, I have no sacrifice with me, nor am I aware of a place of an altar on the mountain. How can I bring a sacrifice? And he said to me, look round. And I looked around, and lo, there were following us all the prescribed sacrificial animals, the young heifer, and the she-goat, and the ram, and the turtle dove, and the pigeon. And the angel said to me, Abraham. And I said, here am I. And he said to me, all these slaughter and divide the animals into halves, one against the other. But the birds do not sever. But the birds do not sever, but give them to men, but give them to the men whom I will show thee, standing by thee. For these are the altar upon the mountain to offer the sacrifice of the eternal. But the turtle dove and the pigeon give to me, for I will ascend upon the wings of the bird in order to show thee in heaven and on the earth and in the sea and in the abyss and in the underworld and in the Garden of Eden and in its rivers and in the fullness of the whole world and its circle, that thou shalt gaze in them all. All right, so Abraham, he got the sacrifices. All right. And now he's telling them or instructing him on the sacrifices. And he told them what to do with them. All right. Because we see that he was accompanied by other angels as well. All right. The angels who were appointed to actually do the sacrifices. But then it says that don't divide the birds, because he said he's going to ascend up upon the wings of the bird in order to show thee in heaven and on the earth and in the sea and the abyss and in the underworld and in the Garden of Eden and in its rivers and in its fullness of the whole world and its circle. Thou shalt gaze in them all. All right, so think about this. Think about, the book of Enoch and everything that Enoch experienced. Think about everything that Moses experienced when he went up on the mount. You can read about that in Jubilees. You can read about some of it in Jasher. But when we read the book, yeah, exactly. So Abraham did Moses before Moses. And the thing about it, a lot of our forefathers had some of the same experiences, whenever the Father dealt with them personally, or whatever the Most High dealt with them personally to reveal prophecy to them, they had some of these same experiences. And it's the same experience our forefather Abraham had. Now think about Abraham, our forefather Abraham, being a friend of the Most High. And so this is one of the benefits of a true friend of the Most High. He said that I'm going to take you up into the heaven and into the sea and into the abyss. So in other words, the Most High is going to show Abraham his whole creation. All right. And he's even going to allow Abraham, just like he did Moses, just like he did Enoch, he's going to allow Abraham to go back in time, and he's going to allow Abraham to see the end times, which is similar to what our concept today, or what so-called science will call time travel. I feel like that's where they get the idea from. We hear that and it's far-fetched. We see it in movies, but this is an actual concept that they believe they can achieve based on the stuff that we read in the scripture. Our forefathers were the pretty much the forerunners of that. The Most High allowed them to not only see what came before them, but he allowed them to see our times as well. This is why they rejoiced and had these things written for our times. It was through them. This book is more realer than what people realize, is what I'm trying to say. All right. And this is our evidence. But real quick, let me take a break real quick. When we come back, we're going to continue on into some more of the reading of our forefather Abraham. I hope y'all enjoying this. I want to thank y'all for joining in and spending your time. I hope y'all haven't fell asleep yet. All right. But let's take a break. When I come back, we're going to finish it off. Shalom and blessings. Shalom, shalom. Welcome back. I want to thank you, brothers and sisters in the chat, for chiming in. Glad y'all enjoying it. Give me a second. Okay. Thought I lost my spot there for a second. All right. So, yeah. Okay. All right. So, now the Most High is getting ready to reveal secrets to our forefather. He had him prepare the sacrifices for the purpose of revealing to him the end times of how the righteous will be delivered and how the wicked will be dealt with, all right, in the end times. But then he also said he was gonna pretty much just take them on a tour. I want to show you my creation. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you get close to somebody and they want to open up to you. This is what the Most High is doing with Abraham, to reveal to him the fullness of his goodness. Abraham accomplishes the sacrifice under the guidance of the angel and refuses to be diverted from the purpose of Azazel. All right. A lot of people familiar with this name from the book of Enoch. He was one of the angels who conspired with the others to lay with women and create a wicked offspring in the earth. All right. And the Most High had him condemned. And of course, the spirits of these angels roam in the earth. All right. And so this is where you get the wicked spirits in the earth from. And Abraham is going to encounter him in a different form. All right. So let's check it out. It says, "And I did everything according to the commandment of the angel, and gave the angels who had come to us the divided animals. But the angel took the birds, and I waited for the evening sacrifice. And there flew an unclean bird down upon the carcass, and I drove it away. And the unclean bird spake to me." All right, so real quick, if we look at start around verse 10 in Genesis 15, "And he took unto him all these and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away." All right, so we're about to get into some details on what took place here in verse 11. All right, check it out. It says, "And there flew an unclean bird down upon the carcasses, and I drove it away. And the unclean bird spake to me and said, What doest thou, Abraham, upon the holy heights, where no man eateth or drinketh, neither is there upon them any food of man? But these consume everything with fire, and will burn thee up. Forsake the man who is with thee, and flee. For if thou ascendest to the heights, they will make an end of thee. And it came to pass, when I saw the bird speak, I said to the angel, What is this, my Lord? And he said, This is ungodliness. This is Azazel. And he said to it, Disgrace upon thee, Azazel, for Abraham's lot is in heaven, but thine upon the earth, because thou hast chosen and loved this for the dwelling place of thine uncleanness. Therefore the eternal mighty Lord made thee a dweller upon the earth, and through thee every evil spirit of lies, and through thee wrath and trials for the generation of ungodly men. For God, the eternal, mighty one, have not permitted that the bodies of the righteous should be in thy hand. All right. The bodies of the righteous. Remember, he's dealing with Abraham and everything that come out of Abraham, Abraham's offspring. So he said, the mighty one have not permitted the bodies of the righteous. And remember, this is a code word, a parable word for the Most High's chosen people, right? He hasn't permitted them. The bodies of the righteous should be in thy hand, in order that thereby the life of the righteous and the destruction of the unclean may be assured. Here, friend, be gone with shame for me, for it have not been given to thee to play the temper in regard to all the righteous. Depart from this man. Thou cannot lead him astray, because he is an enemy to thee, and of those who follow thee and love what thou lovest. All right. So he's saying, depart from him. Thou cannot lead this man astray, because he is an enemy to thee and of those who follow thee and love what thou lovest. All right. To get a better understanding of that, go back and read the book of Enoch and look at what Azazel brought into the earth. All right. And then you'll understand what you see in the earth now and the things in the world now. And those people who are in alignment with those things, he said, Abraham is an enemy of those things. Right? For behold, the vesture which in heaven was formerly thine hath been set aside for him, and the mortality which was his hath been transferred to thee. So the Most High took immortality from Azazel and gave it to Abraham and gave him Abraham's mortality. All right. It's not to say that we don't die, but then when we look at the scriptures, we see that eternal life, eternal righteousness was given to the Most High's chosen. All right. He said, the angel said to me, Abraham, and I said, here am I, thy servant. And he said, know from henceforth that the eternal one hath chosen thee. Know from henceforth that the eternal one hath chosen thee. He whom thou lovest, be of good courage and use this authority. Be of good courage and use this authority. All right. I dedicate this to our people. All right. Let's be of good courage and use the authority of knowing that the eternal one have chosen us. You know, he chose our forefather. Many other scriptures say the same thing as well about him choosing us. All right. Be of good courage and use this authority. So far as I bid thee against him who slandereth truth, should I not be able to put him to shame, who have scattered over the earth the secrets of heaven and have rebelled against the mighty one? Say to him, be thou the burning coal of the furnace of the earth. Go, Azazel, into the inaccessible parts of the earth, into the inaccessible parts of the earth, right? But they done told us they drilled to the center of the earth, right? For thy heritage is to be over those existing with thee, born with the stars and clouds, with the men whose portion thou art, and who through thy being exist. And thine enmity is justification. On this account, by thy perdition, disappear from me. And it says, and I uttered the words which the angel had taught me. He said, Abraham. And I said, Here am I, thy servant. And the angel said to me, Answer him not, for God hath given power over those who do answer him. And the angel spake to me a second time and said, Now rather, however much he speak to thee, answer him not, that his will may have no free course in thee. All right, because the eternal one, the eternal and mighty one, hath given him weight and will, answer him not. I did what was commanded me by the angel, and however much he spake to me, I answered him nothing whatsoever. All right, so this is the key as well. All right, whenever you're dealing with unbelieving people, all right, whenever you're dealing with doubtful people who want to challenge your faith and all that, you don't have to deal with them. You don't have to answer them. It said, because now rather, however much he speak to thee, answer him not, that his will may have no free course in thee. All right. A lot of times we give evil spirits free will to have course in us when we open up to things that are not really worthy of the Most High's time, things that are already condemned, you know. So answer him not. Abraham and the angel ascend on the wings of the birds to heaven. And it came to pass when the sun went down, and lo, a smoke as of a furnace. And the angels who had the portions of the sacrifice ascended from the top of the smoking furnace. And the angel took me with the right hand and set me on the right wing of the pigeon, and set himself on the left wing of the turtle dove, which birds had neither been slaughtered nor divided. And he bore me to the borders of the flaming fire, and we ascended as with many winds to the heaven which was fixed upon the surface. And I saw on the air, on the height to which we ascended, a strong light, which was impossible to describe. And lo, in this light, a fiercely burning fire for people, many people of male appearance, all constantly changing in aspect and form, running and being transformed, and worshiping and crying with the sound of words which I knew not. So he took them to one part, and he's seeing these images of men, but it looked like fire, and they changing forms, and they being transformed, and they worshiping and praising with sounds and words which Abraham knew not. So he's hearing sounds and seeing things. All right. Then it says, and I said to the angel, Why hast thou brought me up here now? Because I cannot now see, for I'm already grown weak, and my spirit departed from me. So he's saying, Why you brought me up here, man? I can't handle seeing this, you know. And he said to me, Remain by me, fear not. And he whom thou seest come straight toward us with great voice of holiness. That is the eternal one who loveth thee. But himself thou cannot see. But let not thy spirit grow faint on account of the loud crying, for I am with thee to strengthen thee. All right, so he's seeing things, he's hearing sounds and seeing images, and is making them weak, you know. So just imagine, well, you can't imagine that. You know, this is something you can't imagine, and even reading it in a lot of cases is doing it no justice. Shalom and blessings, Basura messenger. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, but reading this in a lot of cases do it no justice, you know. But let's continue. Y'all get the point. Y'all see what's going on. Abraham, taught by the angel, utters the celestial song and praise for enlightenment. And while he yet spake, and lo, fire came against us round about, and a voice was in the fire like a voice of many waters, like the sound of the sea in its uproar. And the angel bent his head with me to worship. And I desired to fall down upon the earth and the high place on which we stood. At one moment rose upright, but at another rolled downwards. And he said, only worship, Abraham, and utter the song which I have taught thee, because there was no earth to fall upon, and I worshiped only. So real quick, they're standing there, all right, and Abraham wanted to worship. He desired to fall down and worship, but the angel was telling him not to, just to stand and worship, stand up and worship, and to utter the song. And it said, because there was no earth to fall upon. All right, so they weren't standing on anything, but they were standing there. All right, if that makes sense. And it says, and I worshiped only and uttered the song which he had taught me. And he said, recite without ceasing. And I recited. And he also himself with me recited the song, Eternal, Mighty, Holy El, God only, supreme, thou who art self-originated, incorruptible, spotless, uncreated, immaculate, immortal, self-complete, self-illuminating, without father, without mother, unbegotten, exalted, fiery one, lover of men, benevolent, bountiful, jealous over me, and very compassionate. Eli, that is my God, eternal, mighty, holy, Sabaoth, very glorious, El, and Joel. Thou art he whom my soul had loved, eternal protector, shining like fire, whose voice is like the thunder, whose look is like the lightning, all seeing, who receiveth the prayers as such as honor thee, and turneth away from the requests of such as embarrass with the embarrassment of their provocations, who dissolveth the confusions of the world which arise from the ungodly and righteous in the corruptible age, renewing the age of the righteous. Thou, O light, shinest before the light of the morning upon thy creatures, so that it becometh day upon the earth. And in thy heavenly dwelling places there is no need of any other light than that of the unspeakable splendor from the lights of thy countenance. Accept my prayer and be well pleased with it. Likewise also the sacrifice which thou hast prepared for thee through me who sought thee. Accept me favorably and show me and teach me and make known to thy servant as thou hast promised me. All right, so this is a song that, sorry about that. This is a song that the angel that was with Abraham at the time taught him to utter and to speak. All right, and all these are records of the sacrifice that our forefather made with the Most High. All right, so these records are actually binding, like how this nation keeps records and contracts and things like that. This is an actual record, historical record, proof of our forefather entering into a covenant with the God of all gods. All right. So these things was written for our learning and for our benefit. Abraham's vision of the divine throne. And while I still recited the song, the mouth of the fire, which was on the surface, rose up on high. And I heard a voice like the roaring of the sea, nor did it cease on account of the rich abundance of the fire. And as the fire raised itself up, ascending into the height, I saw under the fire a throne of fire, and round about it all seeing ones reciting the song, and under the throne 4 fiery living creatures singing, and their appearance was one, each one of them with 4 faces. And such was the appearance of their countenances, of a lion, of a man, of an ox, and of an eagle. 4 heads were upon their bodies, so that the 4 creatures had 16 faces, and each had 6 wings from their shoulders and their sides and their loins. And with the 2 wings from their shoulders, they covered their faces. And with the 2 wings which sprang from their loins, they covered their feet, while the 2 middle wings they spread out for flying straight forward. And when they had ended the singing, they looked at one another and threatened one another. All right, so that sound like the same creatures that spoke of in Ezekiel. All right, that he saw. Our forefather Abraham saw these same creatures in the heavens. Shalom and blessings, Sister Marcella Smith. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a blessed day. All right. So these same creatures that's described in Ezekiel, our forefather Abraham saw. All right. And you'll see a lot of connections with things too, especially when you read the 12 patriarchs. You see a lot of connections with our forefather Judah and King David and Samson, with Naphtali, all of the abilities and stuff that they had. You'll see a lot of that stuff when you read those accounts, understanding more about our forefathers. So we see a connection here. My forefather Abraham actually saw these same creatures that's described in Ezekiel. All right. Now imagine having an encounter like this, seeing these creatures. These are not no ordinary creatures, ordinary experiences. These things are not ordinary sizes and heights, It appears as a man, but think about how tall these things are and how big and loud, and just, being in a whole environment like that you can't describe, and you're being told to fear not, it's okay. Can't even imagine that. All right. But it says, and it came to pass when the angel who was with me saw that they were threatening each other, he left me and went running to them and turned the countenance of each living creature from the countenance immediately confronting him, in order that they might not see their countenance threatening each other. And he taught them the song of peace, which had its origin in the eternal one. All right. So something going on there that I can't, I don't even really know what that is, but these creatures, these cherubims, I think that's what Ezekiel calls them. They, I guess if they're turned a certain way towards one another, they start to threaten one another. All right. So he had to go and, adjust them and, set them straight from what this looks like. All right. So that's something else we don't know about. All right. Then it says, and he taught them the song of peace, which had its origin in the eternal one. All right. And think about this as well. When you look at a lot of movies, a lot of Hollywood movies, all Hollywood is doing is taking from old records, old themes, old plots, and packaging it up, putting theatrics and graphics and stuff behind it, and that's what you see, But then a lot of the stuff that they try to depict to us in their cinemas and in they movies, some of these things are somewhat experiences that our forefathers had. They'll show you people in the movie who hear voices and see spirits and all that, but then our forefathers was dealing with this kind of stuff on another level, you know. So he said, and as I stood alone and looked, I saw behind the living creatures a chariot with fiery wheels, each wheel full of eyes round about, and over the wheels was a throne, which I saw, and this was covered with fire, and fire encircled it round about. And lo, an indescribable fire environed a fiery host, and I heard its holy voice like the voice of a man. And a voice came to me. God discloses to Abraham the powers of heaven. And a voice came to me out of the midst of the fire, saying, Abraham, Abraham. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Consider the expanses which are under the firmament on which thou art now placed, and see how no single expanse is there any other but he whom thou hast sought, or who had loved thee. And while he was yet speaking, and lo, the expanse is open, and beneath me the heavens, and I saw upon the seventh firmament upon which I stood a fire widely extended, a light and a dew, and a multitude of angels, and a power of invisible glory over the living creatures which I saw, but no other being did I see there. All right, so the Abraham is up on the seventh expanse. All right, and I saw upon the seventh firmament. All right, so just imagine this. We know that the Most High placed the firmament between the waters to divide the waters from the waters, and this is where we are, right? There are seven firmaments according to this account. We know that Paul spoke of a third heaven, all right? And in other accounts, it speaks of the seventh heaven, but each heaven, there's a firmament dividing each one, all right? And so the Most High is able to open up each one, and Abraham is able to look down into them and see all of these angels and all these different things going on, because all of the angels have offices in the heaven. Shalom and blessings. Notorious Hebrew. Hope you're doing well. Hope your day was blessed. But just like the angels in heaven have offices in different positions in the heavens, it's the same thing with the Levite priest. All right. All of the Levites have different offices and different services, for the temple. Some Levites do the sacrifices. All right. Some of the priests, the high priest, actually go inside the temple, all right, to sprinkle the blood. You have some Levites that's responsible for the incense. All right. You have some that's responsible for cleaning the temple. So you got a lot of different things going on. And that Levitical priesthood is really a model of the angelic services in the heavens. All right. So it says, and I saw upon the seventh firmament upon which I stood a fire widely extended, and light and dew, and a multitude of angels, and a power of invisible glory over the living creatures which I saw, but no other being did I see there. And I looked from the mountain in which I stood downwards to the sixth firmament, and I saw there a multitude of angels of pure spirit, without bodies, who carried out the commands of the fiery angels who were upon the eighth firmament, as I was standing suspended over them. So he's standing over all this, just looking down and seeing all of the services in the heavens and how things is operating. All right. It's kind of like, that movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, how nobody was able to ever go in, but then he let them go in and they actually saw how those little people, the little Oompa Loompas, how they was working in the factory. All right. And they saw the secrets of the factory. And that's just a minute example for what we're reading about here in the heavens, how all the angels are operating in the heavens and doing different things and receiving orders, and because it sounds like something is being built. Remember, the Mashiach said, I go and prepare a place for you. All right. So we know that New Jerusalem is coming down from heaven. So just think about that. Is work being done in the heavens? It says, where am I at? It says, and I looked from the mountain in which I stood downwards to the sixth firmament, and I saw there a multitude of angels of pure spirit without bodies, who carried out the commands of the fiery angels who were upon the eighth firmament. As I was standing suspended over them, and behold, upon this firmament there were no other powers of any other form, but only angels of pure spirit, like the power which I saw on the seventh firmament. And he commanded that the sixth firmament should be taken away. And I saw there on the fifth firmament the powers of the stars, which carry out the commands laid upon them, and the elements of the earth obeyed them. All right. So now he looking at the fifth firmament, where the powers of the stars come from. All right. A promise of a seed. And the eternal mighty one said to me, Abraham, Abraham. And I said, here am I. And he said, consider from above the stars which are beneath thee, and number them for me. All right. Remember in the account in Genesis, he said, 15, he said, behold, and he brought him, it says, and he brought him forth abroad and said, look now toward heaven and tell the stars if thou be able to number them. And he said unto them, so shall thy seed be. All right. So in this account right here, he's telling you that he had Abraham up in the fifth firmament looking down on the stars. And he says, number the stars from up above them if you can. So imagine that. All right. Consider from above the stars which are beneath thee, and number them for me, and make known to me their number. And I said, when can I? For I am but a man of dust and ashes. And he said to me, as the number of the stars and their power, so will I make thy seed a nation and a people, set apart for me in my heritage with Azazel. All right. So he's saying that as the number of the stars and their power, so will I make thy seed a nation and a people, set apart for me in my heritage with Azazel. All right. If you read the patriarchs, it'll tell you how all of the evil spirits, all right, are set against the Most High's children, particularly against the tribe of Levi and Judah, because these are the tribes where the salvation of Israel is going to come from. All right. And so that's why it's saying, set apart for me in my heritage with Azazel, because all of these spirits, Azazel being the chief spirit, are going to be appointed at the Most High's people, just like we saw Abraham encounter him through the unclean file. It says, and I said, O eternal mighty one, let thy servant speak before thee, and let not thine anger kindle against thy chosen one. Lo, before thou leadest me up, Azazel invade against me. How then, while he is not now before thee, hast thou constituted thyself with him? All right. So now the most Abraham is pretty much asking him, what do you have to do with him? You know, when I encountered him, he came against me. All right. So I'm trying to understand this. Let's read on. It says, a vision of sin in paradise, the mirror of the world. And he said to me, look now beneath thy feet at the firmaments and understand the creation foreshadowed in this expanse, the creatures existing on it, and the age prepared according to it. So the Most High is pretty much letting him know everything is mapped out and planned out. All right. And I want to reveal it to you. And I saw beneath the surfaces of the feet, and I saw beneath the sixth heaven and what was therein, and then the earth and its fruits, and what moved upon it, and its inanimate beings and animate beings, and the power of its men, and the ungodliness, and their souls, and their righteous deeds, and the beginnings of their works, and the lower regions, and the perdition therein, the abyss and its torments. I saw there the sea and its islands, and its monsters, and its fishes, and Leviathan and his dominion. We're going to read about Leviathan one day, and his dominion, and his camping ground, and his caves, and the world which lay upon him, and his movements, and the destructions of the world on his account. Now think about this. You know how you looking at something, how you say you looking for a Bigfoot or something. They got a documentary, a Bigfoot documentary. Now you know they're not gonna really show you a Bigfoot, and if they do, you know they're gonna show you something that they probably propped just to make it interesting, and it's not gonna be something that you really can see. But then Abraham is saying that, man, I'm looking at all of these sea monsters and fishes and Leviathan, you know, this creature we're going to read about. And I'm looking at his movements, you know, how he eating, where he living, and, you know, all of this stuff that a lot of scientists now, you know, a lot of people are aware of a lot of different things that they not informing us about in terms of stuff living in the waters and, you know, remote islands and stuff that people don't know about. You know, this is what he's looking at. He's seeing everything, you know. Imagine the animals and stuff that was in his region where he grew up in that we don't know about now, but he was seeing stuff that, you know, he didn't even grow up around. Seeing everything. The sea and its islands, right? Its islands, all those islands we don't know about, all them creatures and its fishes, right? And I saw there the Garden of Eden and its fruits, the source of the stream issuing from it, and its trees and their bloom, and those who behaved righteously. And I saw therein their foods and their blessedness. And I saw there a great multitude, men and women and children, half of them on the right side of the picture, and half of them on the left side of the picture. All right, so Abraham is seeing a vision right here. And so in this vision, the Most High is showing him now a picture that he's looking on. And he's seeing that on one side of the picture, you see people. On the other side of the people, you see pictures. On the other side of the picture, you see people. All right. So the fall of man and its sequel. And I said, "O eternal mighty one, what is this picture of the creatures?" And he said to me, "This is my will with regard to those who exist in the divine world council, and it seemed well pleasing before my sight. And then afterwards I gave commandment to them through my word. And it came to pass, whatever I had determined to be was already planned beforehand in this picture. And it stood before me ere it was created, or before it was created, as thou hast seen. And I said, O Lord, mighty and eternal, who are the people in this picture on this side and on that? So remember, he just told Abraham, in this picture, it's pretty much my will laid out. All right. And Abraham want to know, who are the people in this picture on this side and on that? And he said to me, these which are on the left side are the multitude of the peoples which have formerly been in existence and which are after thee destined, some for judgment and for restoration, and others for vengeance and destruction at the end of the world. But these which are on the right side of the picture, they are the people set apart from me of the peoples with Azazel. These are they whom I have ordained to be born of thee and to be called my people. All right. So he said, these which are on the left side are the multitude of the peoples which have formerly been in existence and which are after thee destined, some for judgment and restoration, and others for vengeance and destruction at the end of the world. So these are the ethnic peoples outside of Abraham's seed. Some of them gonna be restored, all right. But the ones at the end of the world, he say, they're gonna be for vengeance and destruction, all right. But these which are on the right side of the picture, they are the people set apart for me of the peoples with Azazel. All right. Remember what we said about that. These are they whom I have ordained to be born of thee and to be called my people. All right, let's read on. Now look again in the picture. Who it is who seduced Eve, and what is the fruit of the tree? All right, so people always ask, what was the fruit they ate? Was it an apple? You know, and people always say it was an apple, you know. Now look again in the picture, who it is who seduced Eve, and what is the fruit of the tree, and thou wilt know what there shall be, and how it shall be to thy seed among the people at the end of the days of the age. And so far as thou canst not understand, I will make known to thee, for thou art well pleasing in my sight, and I will tell thee what is kept in my heart. All right. So the Most High is about to reveal everything to him. And I looked into the picture, and mine eyes ran to the side of the Garden of Eden, and I saw there a man very great in height and fearful in breadth, incomparable in aspect, embracing a woman who likewise approximated the aspect and shape of the man. All right, so he saw this tall, fearful, dreadful man, right? So tall and so big. And he saw a woman the same way. And it says, and they were standing under a tree of the Garden of Eden. And the fruit of this tree was like the appearance of a bunch of grapes of a vine. And behind the tree was standing, as it were, a serpent in form. Now it said, and the fruit of this tree was like the appearance of a bunch of grapes on the vine. And behind the tree was standing, as it were, a serpent in form, having hands and feet like a man's, and wings on its shoulders, 6 on the right side and 6 on the left. and they were holding the grapes of the tree in their hands, and both were eating it, whom I had seen embracing. So we get an idea who that sounds like. And there's an account, I believe it's in the book of Nicodemus, where it talks about uh, Adam being tall in stature, his height being real tall in stature, you know. And so Abraham is what he's actually seeing is our forefather Adam and Eve. Like I said, the Most High took him back to the beginning, all right, and he's going to take him to the end and show him everything the same way he did with Moses, same way he did with Enoch, the same way he did with the prophets. All right. So check this out. So Abraham saw our forefather Adam and Eve eating grapes, all right, or what appeared to be grapes on the vine, and they were embracing one another. And standing behind them was a serpent, all right, having hands and feet like a man's. And this is why when you read the curse in Genesis, he told them, on your belly, you're going to go. There's another account in Adam and Eve that talks about the serpent having hands and feet and wings and everything. All right. But it says, and I said, who are these mutually embracing? Or who is this who is between them? Or what is the fruit which they are eating, O mighty eternal one? And he said, this is the human world. This is Adam. And this is their desire upon the earth. So he's asking them, who is this? And he's saying, this is the human world, giving us an idea that the world was different or wasn't the same during Abraham's day as it was back then. Just like our day, the world was nothing, is nothing now like it was back then, at all. If we were to go back then, we would probably freak out the same way Abraham is freaking out right now. Like, man, I don't know if I want to keep looking at this. Take me back, But our forefather endured this for us so these things could be written so that we can believe. He said, this is the human world. This is Adam, and this is their desire upon the earth. This is Eve. But he who is between them represented ungodliness. Their beginning on the way to perdition, even Azazel. And I said, now he's not saying that that's Azazel, but he's saying that the one standing between him represents ungodliness. All right, now we can go read the account of Adam and Eve to get a better understanding of what happened between Satan and the serpent. All right, because Satan peeped the serpent out and he chose the serpent for a reason. And I said, O eternal mighty one, why hast thou given to such power to destroy the generation of men and their works upon the earth? And he said to me, they who will do evil, they who will to do evil, and how much I hate it in those who do it. Over them I gave him power and to be beloved of them. So the people who will to do evil, all right, and he says, and how much I hate it in those who do it. Over them I gave him power. Talking about the evil one. He gave them power to be beloved of them. And I answered and said, O eternal mighty one, wherefore hast thou willed to effect that evil should be desired in the hearts of men, since thou indeed art angered over that which was willed by thee, at him who is doing what is unprofitable in thy counsel. So he's saying, why have you willed this spirit to be over men, knowing that you hate it? All right, basically. The same thing it asks you in Romans chapter 9. You know, you're going to call the Most High wicked because he created a people just to destroy them. You know, who are we to question the Most High? You know, we don't know his understanding and his creation. You know, the very people you vouching for just to be against the Most High, the very people trying to eliminate you. And if the Most High was to remove his hand, that's the very thing they're going to do. All right. The very next thing they're going to do soon after he remove his hand of protection. Here they come. They all over you. They already want to do it. That's why he tells us the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. There's things going on that we don't understand. He said to me, being angered at the nations on thy account and on account of the people of thy family who are to be separated after thee, as thou seest in the picture the burden of destiny that is laid upon them. And I will tell thee what shall be and how much shall be in the last days. Look now at everything in the picture. And I looked and saw there what was before me in the creation. I saw Adam and Eve existing with him, and with them a cunning adversary, and Cain who acted lawlessly through the adversary, and slaughtered Abel, and a destruction brought and caused upon him through the lawless one. And I saw there also impurity in those who lust after it, and its pollution, and their jealousy, and the fire of their corruption in the lowest parts of the earth. All right, so Most High took him back and showed him everything, basically. The Most High allowed our forefather to go back and to see everything that took place, you know, from what our forefathers did in the garden to Cain slaying Abel to sin and wickedness growing in the earth. He saw all of that, you know. So just imagine that. He said, where am I? Okay, it says, and I saw their theft and those who hasten after it, and the arrangement of their retribution, the judgment of the great assize. And I saw their naked men, the foreheads against each other, and their disgrace and their passion, which they had against each other, and their retribution. I saw their desire, and in their hand the head of every kind of lawlessness, and her scorn, and her waist assigned to perdition. So he's saying every form of wickedness. He's saying, man, these dudes is naked, you know, and not only just naked physically, but just naked in their ways, you know, open, wide open, everything. Abraham is seeing everything. He's seeing, you know, these men lusting after each other, all kind of lawlessness. In the beginning, you know, this is what he saw. So people who think we living in a time where stuff is new, you know, I really feel like this age is really the slowest, you know, in terms of, you know, calling ourselves advanced. We're not doing anything new, you know, same old stuff. But he says, I saw there the likeness of the idol of jealousy, having the likeness of woodwork, such as my father was wont to make. And its statue was of glittering bronze, and before it a man, and he worshipped it. And in front of him an altar, and upon it a boy slain in the presence of the idol. So idolatry, right? A statue, the likeness of woodwork, such as my father was wont to make. So he recalling the stuff his father used to do, right? And he said it was glittering bronze, and before it a man, and he worshipped it. and in the front of him an altar, and upon it a boy slain in the presence of the idol. But I said to him, what is this idol? Or what is the altar? Or who are they that sacrificed? Or who is the sacrificer? Or what is the temple which I see that is beautiful in art, and its beauty being like the glory that lied beneath thy throne? So this thing was beautiful, right? And he said, hear, Abraham, this which thou seest, the temple and altar and beauty, is my idea of the priesthood of my glorious name, in which dwelleth every single prayer of man, and the rise of the kings and prophets, and whatever the sacrifice I ordained to be offered to me among my people, who are to come out of thy generations. But the statue which thou sawest is mine anger, wherewith the people anger me, who are to proceed for me from thee. But the man whom thou sawest slaughtering, that is he who incited murderous sacrifices, of which are the witness to me of the final judgment, even at the beginning of creation. All right, so the Most High is telling him that this idol represents the idolatry that his people will get into in the end days. All right, but this whole thing represented his ultimate idea of his people coming to him with sacrifices of righteousness. All right. But just like in Isaiah, it said that he looked for grapes, but behold, wild grapes. Our people got into idolatry and all kind of different forms of worship. And so this is what he's seeing. All right. And I said, O eternal mighty one, wherefore hast thou established that it should be so, and then proclaim the knowledge thereof? And he said to me, hear, Abraham, understand what I say to thee, and answer me as I question thee. Why did thy father Terah not listen to thy voice? And why did he not cease from the devilish idolatry until he perished and his whole house with him? And I said, O eternal mighty one, it was entirely because he did not choose to listen to me, but I too did not follow his works. And he said to me, hear, Abraham, as the counsel of thy father is in him, and as thy counsel is in thee, so also is the counsel of my will in me, ready for the coming days. So just like, people set in their ways, you set in your ways, I'm setting my ways, the Most High is setting his too. Basically what that's saying. Before thou hast knowledge of these, or canst see with thine eyes what is future in them. So my ways been set since everlasting. How those of thy seed will be, look in the picture. So everything pertaining to our people has already been set. All right. A vision of judgment and salvation. And I looked and saw, and lo, the picture was swayed, and from it emerged on his left side a heathen people, and they pillaged those who were on the right side, men and women and children. Some they slaughtered, others they retained with themselves. Lo, I saw them run towards them through 4 entrances, and they burnt the temple with fire, and the holy things that were therein they plundered. So in Abraham's day, he's seeing a temple. There was no temple in Abraham's day. All right, but he's seeing a temple in this picture. And I said, O eternal one, lo, the people that spring from me, whom thou hast accepted, the whores of the heathen do plunder. And some they kill, while others they hold fast as aliens. And the temple they have burnt with fire, and the beautiful things therein they do rob and destroy. O eternal mighty one, if this be so, wherefore hast thou now lacerated my heart? And why should this be so? And he said to me, Hear, Abraham, what thou hast seen shall happen on account of thy seed, who anger me by reason of the statue which thou sawest, and on account of the human slaughter in the picture, through zeal in the temple. And as thou sawest, so shall it be. All right. So we know that according to prophecy, it said that our people would get into idolatry, start serving other Elohims, and start trying to mingle with the other nations. All right. And so Abraham is seeing in this picture that these heathens on the left side is plundering, killing, and taking his people captive. And Abraham wants to know why. And so the Most High explained to him why. All right. He's saying, all of this shall be, the temple gonna be destroyed and everything. So the Most High is showing him what was gonna take place in 70 AD. Wow, there you go. He was showing them the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. All right. Our forefather Abraham saw it just like the prophets saw it. All right. They spoke of it. Enoch spoke of it. All right. So, and I said, O eternal mighty one, may the works of evil, wrath, and ungodliness now pass by, but show me rather those who fulfill the commandments, even the works of his righteousness. For thou canst do this. All right. So he's saying, man, I got to see something better. Show me something good. You know, show me those who fulfilled your righteousness. And he said to me, the time of the righteous meeteth them first through the holiness flowing from the kings and the righteous dealing rulers, whom I at first created in order from such to rule among them. But from these issue men who care for their interests, as I have made known to thee, and thou hast seen. All right. So this last chapter right here, it's kind of a puzzle to me. I'm gonna have to come back and look at this some more. All right. But it's saying that the holiness flowing from the kings. All right. We know that later on we had King David. We had a few other righteous kings, the righteous dealing rulers, whom I at first created in order from such to rule among them. All right. And we know that according to prophecy, the Most High said that he's going to raise up a lot of our rulers to be among us. All right. So how long? And I answered and said, Almighty Eternal One, hallowed be thy power. Be favorable to my petition. For this hast thou brought me up here and showed me. So Abraham, my forefather, is feeling confident now. You know, the Most High brought him up here, showed him all this stuff. Why not take full advantage of this moment and ask the Most High whatever you need to ask him? That's why you brought me up here, to show me, as thou hast brought me up to thy height. So make this known to me, thy beloved one, as much as I ask, whether what I saw shall happen to them for long. All right. Is this going to happen for a long time to my people? If it got to happen, you know, you telling me that this is going to happen, it's going to be fulfilled. How long is this going to happen to my people? And he showed me a multitude of his people and said to me, on their account, through 4 issues, as thou sawest, I shall be provoked by them. And in these my retribution for their deeds shall be accomplished. But in the 4th outgoing of 100 years and 1 hour of the age, the same is 100 years, it shall be in misfortune among the heathen, but 1 hour in mercy and contumely as among the heathen. So he said, but in the 4th outgoing of 100 years, in the 4th outgoing of 100 years. What does that mean? In the fourth outgoing of 100 years and 1 hour of the age, the same is 100 years. It shall be in misfortune among the heathen, but 1 hour in mercy and contumely as among the heathen. All right, so basically letting you know, Abraham asking him, how long is this going to happen? All right, but in the fourth outgoing of 100 years, that's 400 years. All right, and I said, O eternal mighty one, how long a time is an hour of the age? And he said, 12 years have I ordained of this ungodly age to rule among the heathen and in thy seed, and until the end of the times it shall be as thou sawest. And do thou reckon and understand and look into the picture. So he said, how long is an hour of the age? And he said, 12 years have I ordained of this ungodly age to rule among the heathen and in thy seed. So 12 years is an hour of the age according to this. And until the end of the times it shall be as thou sawest. And do thou reckon and understand and look into the picture. All right. And I looked and I saw a man going out from the left side of the heathen. And there went out men and women and children from the side of the heathen, many hosts, and worshipped him. And while I looked, and while I still looked, there came out from the right side many, and some insulted that man, while some struck him. Others, however, worshipped him. And I saw how these worshipped him, and Azazel ran and worshipped him, and having kissed his face, he turned and stood behind him. And I said, O eternal mighty one, who is this man insulted and beaten, who is worshipped by the heathen with Azazel? And he answered and said to me, Hear, Abraham, the man whom thou sawest insulted and beaten, and again worshipped, that is the relief granted by the heathen to the people who proceed from thee in the last days, in this 12th hour of the age of ungodliness. He said, the man whom thou sawest insulted and beaten and again worshipped, that is the relief granted by the heathen to the people who proceed from thee in the last days. So that's talking about the Mashiach and how the Mashiach has granted grace, right, to the heathen. And we break that down further to let you know what that's all about, because this is where all of our people were. So this is why the relief is granted by the heathen to the people who proceed from thee in the last days, in this 12th hour of the age of ungodliness. But in the 12th year of my final age, I will set up this man from thy generation whom thou sawest issue from my people. This one I will follow, and such are called by me will join, even those who change in their counsels. And those whom thou sawest emerge from the left side of the picture, the meaning is there should be many from the heathen who set their hopes upon him. And as for those whom thou sawest from thy seed on the right side, some insulting and striking, others worshiping him, many of them shall be offended at him. He, however, is testing those who have worshipped him of thy seed, and that 12th hour of the end with a view of shortening of the age of ungodliness. So it's talking about how When he came to his own received him not, But, of course, some of our people received him and believed on him, but the higher ups didn't believe on him. You know, it says, before the age of the righteous beginning to grow, my judgment shall come upon the lawless heathen through the people of thy seed who have been separated from me. All right. Before the age of the righteous beginning to grow, my judgment shall come upon the lawless heathen through the people of thy seed who have been separated from me. In those days I will bring upon all creatures of the earth 10 plagues through misfortune and disease and signs of the grief of their souls. Thus much will I bring upon the generations of men that be upon it on account of the provocations of the corruption of his creatures, whereby they provoke me. And then shall righteous men of thy seed be left in the number which is kept secret by me, hastening in the glory of my name to the place prepared beforehand for them, which thou sawest devastated in the picture. And they shall live and be established through sacrifices and gifts of righteousness and truth in the age of the righteous, and shall rejoice in me continually. And they shall destroy those who have destroyed them, and shall insult those who have insulted them. All right. Everything lines up with what we read in prophecy. It's saying that we're going to destroy those who have destroyed them, and shall insult those who have insulted them. And of those who defamed them, they shall spit in the face, scorned by me, while the righteous shall behold me full of joy, rejoicing with my people, and receiving those who return to me in repentance. See, Abraham, what thou hast seen, and hear what thou hast heard, and take full knowledge of what thou hast come to know. Go to thy heritage, and lo, I am with thee forever. The punishment of the heathen and the ingathering of Israel. We finally see Israel being called by name, all right? And letting Israel wasn't a nation during the days of Abraham. And so letting you know that this is all prophetic, what the Most High showed our forefather. And it lines up with what he showed all of our other forefathers, all right? The punishment of the heathen and the ingathering of Israel. But while he was still speaking, I found myself upon the earth, and I said, O eternal mighty one, I am no longer in the glory in which I was while on high, and what my soul longed to understand, my heart I do not understand. All right, so still some things he not understanding. And he said to me, what is desired in thine heart, I will tell thee, because thou hast sought to see the 10 plagues which I have prepared for the heathen, and have prepared beforehand at the passing over of the 12th hour of the earth. Hear what I divulge to thee, so shall it come to pass. The first is pain of great distress. The second, conflagration of many cities. Conflagration of many cities. That's the burning of many cities. The third, destruction and pestilence of animals. The fourth, hunger of the whole world and of his people. The fifth, by destruction among its rulers. Destruction by earthquake and the sword. The sixth, multiplication of hail and snow. The seventh, the wild beast will be their grave. The eighth, hunger and pestilence will alternate with their destruction. The ninth, punishment by the sword and flight in distress. And the 10th, thunder and voices and destructive earthquake. And then I will sound the trumpet out of the air and will send mine elect one, having in him all my power, one measure, and this one shall summon my despised people from the nations, and will burn with fire those who have insulted them and who have ruled among them in this age. And I will give those who have covered me with mockery to the scorn of the coming age. And I have prepared them to be food for the fire of Hades, and for ceaseless flight, and for ceaseless flight to and fro through the air in the underworld beneath the earth. The body filled with worms, for on them shall they see the righteousness of the Creator. For on them they shall see the righteousness of the Creator. Those, namely, who have chosen to do my will, and those who have openly kept my commandments, they shall rejoice with joy over the downfall of the men who still remain and who have followed the idols and their murderers. For they shall putrefy the bodies of the evil worm Azazel and be burned with fire of Azazel's tongue. For I hope that they will come to me and have not loved and praised the strange God, and not have adhered to him for whom they were not allotted, but instead they have forsaken the mighty Lord. So in other words, the Most High is saying that, remember, the judgment starts with Israel. So the judgment that's predestined for the heathen, the Most High has already reserved it for those of our people who chose to reject him as well. All right. So this end time, that's why he's saying that, what he say, for I hope that they will come to me and not have loved and praised the strange God, because these other gods are not our gods. You know, if you read, I think it's in Second Esdras, you know, he kind of goes into this as well, talking about those of our people when they were yet at liberty to keep the commandments of the Most High, they chose not to. He said, the same shall know it by death, by pain. The same shall know it with death by pain. All right. For I hope that they will come to me and have loved and not have loved and praised the strange God, and have not adhered to him for whom they were not allotted. So these other gods, we weren't allotted or reserved for them. So we shouldn't be worshiping them. But those of our people who choose to worship them, they're already reserved and set aside for the same judgment. Conclusion. Therefore, hear, O Abraham, and see, lo, thy seventh generation shall go with thee, and they shall go out into a strange land, and they shall enslave them and evil entreat them, as it were an hour of the age of ungodliness. But the nation whom they shall serve will I judge. All right. I am he who had commanded to loosen Hades to destroy him who stirreth up the dead. This is just revisiting some notes, but the conclusion is the Most High pretty much revealing to Abraham this right here, you know. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterward shall they come out with great substance, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. That's the history of our forefather Abraham. Hope you brothers and sisters enjoyed that. We'll take a break. When we come back, I'm going to go ahead and close out. All right, for the night. Shalom and blessings. I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining in. Hope you enjoyed the history. I'll be right back.
What up, B? What up, B? What up, B?
Shalom, shalom. I want to thank y'all for joining in. Real quick, I want to see what y'all think about the history tonight. Let's see what Smitty got. He said, Most High was telling Israel was waiting to consume us if we chose the curses and he removes his hand from us. Exactly. He was actually letting Abraham know the hearts of our people then. So when you read Deuteronomy, when Moses was telling our people in Deuteronomy 30, when these things shall happen, the blessings and the curses. So even Moses knew. Yep. So he saw, so our forefather Abraham saw all of that. He saw 70 AD, you know, he saw the destruction of the temple, you know, the 400 years. The Most High was telling them the different things that our people going to do to the heathen during the judgment. All of that lines up. Brother Jabroni said, sound like the four horsemen. Yep. In a lot of ways, bringing the plagues. But then, it mentioned those 10 plagues again, that the Most High is going to bring on the heathen. In another count, it mentions, I think in the Targums, it mentions 250 plagues. And that sort of lines up with one of the brothers. He always saying that the judgments have been happening in this nation, in a lot of different ways. And that's true, Said pale horse, pale and red horse, especially. Yep. Say they have no idea what's coming. Not at all. Not at all. Say, and this is in a quarter of the beating laid out in Revelations. Yep. Those who have openly kept his commandments. Yeah. It say openly, Smitty. So you get what it's saying, That's why we mentioned in Esdras, it says those uh, who were at liberty, who had liberty to keep the law and chose not to, Seems to me that in the end of the 400 years, Babylon begins the 12 hour. It could be. That's why I said we're going to have to get into some more and line that up with the numbers. But we know for sure the 400 years is a wrap, So our deliverance is next on the calendar. Absolutely. Shalom and blessings, PC Wallace. Hope you're doing well. Yep. Brother Howe says, awesome read. I read through Enoch, but never through the Apocalypse of Abraham. And here in the near future, most high willing, we're going to pull Enoch out too and get into some of that. I'm one who believes that a lot of these extra biblicals, quote unquote, they help us understand the KJV better, or the documents or the records contained in it. We get a better understanding by getting into some of these other things. And it's not adding to the word either, because depending on what you consider canon, they may or may not be canon. There are canons that predate the KJV that included some of these other books. So, like I said, it depends on what you want to go by as canon. All right. What he said, what I believe is occurring next is the Gentiles becoming more openly hostile toward us. Jacob and crew recently made a video about this actually, and that's possible. I believe that too. But in terms of the chosen, those like Smitty say, openly keeping the commandments and being obedient. If the Most High's word is correct, then they can't do nothing to us. Say as they attempt to pull up on us, that's when the Most High will pull up on them. Absolutely. Strong delusion is Yahweh hardening their hearts like he did Pharaoh. He is setting them up. And that's what it tells you in Romans 9, And he recalls Pharaoh in Romans 9. And he tell him that for this purpose, I've set you up, to show my power in thee, so that the world can know who Elohim is. That's the only way the world gonna say that this is God, is when you bring down the strongest nation in an instant. You do it dramatically. You can't help but to equate that to something greater, He said, thank you, Brother E, for the reading. Absolutely. Thank you for joining in, Sister Sheila. We're gonna do this consistently, not this late, but Y'all get it. It says, I agree. Call it in the time of trouble. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, brothers and sisters, I'm gonna go ahead and shut down. Uh, hope y'all enjoyed this history. I'm gonna try to condense the times a little more in the future. That way, brothers and sisters won't have to be up late like this. But like I said, this is for brothers and sisters to close the night out. You might listen to some and cut it off and may come back and listen to some later, or just use it as a means to help you fall asleep, whatever we can do to help our people out. Shalom and blessings, Basora, our messenger. But I'm gonna chime out, y'all. I'm gonna give myself some sleep, and most high willing, maybe tomorrow around the afternoon time, we'll come back and have another session, morning, afternoon session. It's kind of late tonight, so I don't know um, how to work out in the morning, but most high willing, we'll get together in the morning, have another fellowship, another reading. I want to say peace and blessings to everybody. Hope y'all have a good night. Till we meet again. Shalom.